welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, Wize, and today's guest is someone who turned major adversities into major adventures. He's a certified personal and executive coach, founder of the Empty Nest Coach and This Empty Nest Life. He's walked away from from a house fire, battled addiction, left a 30-year career in education, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and rediscovered himself as a purpose-led coach, helping empty nesters and entrepreneurs redefine their lives. If you're ready to move from stuck to intentional, from surviving to thriving, you're in the right place. Please welcome to Stuck in My Mind podcast, Jay Ramsden.
Well, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, pleasure's mine, man. Thank you for being a guest. I appreciate you taking the time out to actually be a
Absolutely.
guest. Thank you.
I saw your image when we first hopped on as a Yankee hat, and I'm a Red Sox fan, so I don't know if this is going to go too good. We might have to figure out how that plays out.
I won't hold it against you. Don't worry. No, I have a couple of friends that are Red Sox fans, and it's great during the regular season to able to go back and forth with them. But this year, listen, the Red Sox owned the Yankees during the regular season, and then in the playoffs, we ended up eliminating them. So
Yeah, it happens. It happened. It was a good year. A good year. Yeah.
So, so Jay, you lost your home in the fire in 2007 and later battled alcohol addiction. Can you tell us that story and how it shaped your next chapter?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to. Yeah, it was 2007. My wife and I, at the time, I think you mentioned I was working in education. My wife works in education too. We were working in the same school, and our kids went to that same school. And spring break had just ended, like literally the day before. It was our first day back in school, and I got a call from a neighbor. And I was the tech guy in school. I was a tech guy in the neighborhood. So I got a call from a neighbor. I'm like, oh, I can't answer this right now. And then the neighbor called again. I'm like, oh, he probably needs some tech help. I didn't answer. He called a third time. I was like, oh, crap, I better pick up the phone. And I picked it up and he's like, hey, man, your house is on fire. So I literally ran out of the school building, hopped in my car. I drove like about 100 miles an hour to get to the house down the highway. I could see the fire in the distance. And I get there and yeah, it's basically total loss, house on fire,
Wow.
flames, everything. And the kids were 9 and 7 at the time. They're 27 and 25 now. But as I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, we kind of have to figure out life now, right? And it helped redefine for us, especially for our kids, like what does it mean to be resilient? What does it mean to kind of like focus adversity or face adversity and come out of it? And it was for me, I think the biggest lesson was, you know what, things don't really matter. The people in your life matter, your family matters, everybody was safe. That was the biggest takeaway. But also just to embrace life every day. Cause it could have been different. We could have been home, it could have been a different story.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right about that. It could have definitely been, and yes, I could imagine when you lose all this, your house burns up. I can imagine the memories, the pictures, and that's all has sentimental value, but like you said, the fact that no one was injured, no one lost their life in the fire, you can make some new memories. So yeah, it's important to realize that every day to wake up and be grateful for another day to to s- to just enjoy life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's such an important point to be like, we're not guaranteed tomorrow regardless.
Hmm.
And so if you're not doing everything you possibly can to embrace what you have in life today and be thankful for it and have gratitude around it, I think you're kind of wasting the point of what it means to be a human, right? And just connect with other people and re-engage with people around you and just, take a minute to like have a break and be like, okay, like things could be worse. Things could always be worse.
Yeah, absolutely. So after 30 years in education, you made a major shift into coaching and adventure. What lit the spark for that change?
Yeah, and that change came because my wife got a promotion, and I think I mentioned like we worked in education together, and I was in tech. So during the pandemic, so this was when the shift happened during the pandemic. I was in charge of like basically helping keep the school stay connected, the hybrid learning that everybody had to do, and kids were at home learning and Chromebooks and iPads and all those sort of things. And that for me, I was like, I was done coming out of that. And I was looking to do something different while also supporting my wife in her new role that she got. And so the promotion that she got. So I was like, I've got to figure out something else I want to do. And coaching was just a natural shift, getting back to what I used to do, which was I was a psychology major. I wanted to be a psychologist, but I didn't pursue the advanced degrees. And so this was a way for me to help people in a different way than I had been helping people. So I was excited to do it, and that was the focus. And the adventure piece just came from wanting to be an example of what's possible for people once the kids leave home. So again, the concept of embracing life, I think, is where it comes from.
So you climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and walked the Camino de Santiago. How did those physical journeys mirror your internal transformation?
Yeah. So Kilimanjaro was the very first thing that I did that was adventurous. And that was the first time I ever hiked anything. And so, yeah, I see your face. People have that same reaction. It was like, wait, what?
First time hiking anything is Mount Kilimanjaro. Okay.
Kilimanjaro is, one of the top, the largest mountains in the world. I think it's in the top 10. I think it's like 19,000, a little over 19,000 feet to get to the top. But it's not a technical climb. If you think of climbing like axes and ropes and that sort of thing, it's not. But it's arduous, and you have to be able to have the mindset to do it. And I think that's what set me on this path. Was like every step had purpose for me. Every step, I kept saying to myself, it could, because everybody else in the group were physically fitter than I was, and they were all most of them had hiking experience before, and I was the laggard behind. Like I was always the last one getting to camp. So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to say to myself, every step has purpose. Every step I take is going to make me get to where I need to be. It's going to get me to the top of this mountain. And that became kind of like we all have mountains to climb.
Yeah.
And that was the takeaway, right? You have a mountain to climb in your life, no matter what it is. We all face some adversity, and that's the mountain that we face. And so every step has purpose became kind of my life motto. I mean, so much so that I have it tattooed on my arm on one arm and Kilimanjaro on the other arm, just as a reminder of what it took to get to the top.
So what does the phrase "sometimes you need to go slow to go fast" mean to you in that context?
Yeah, so that was something I used to have coming out of education, because in tech sometimes people want to move quicker, right? They want the innovation to happen, they want life to happen quicker. And what I found, especially on Kilimanjaro, is like for me personally, like what my body could handle is like in order for me to finish, I had to go slow to technically go fast to finish. And so that is where that concept came from. Is like if I go slow, I can actually become faster, right? I won't stop, right? If we go fast, sometimes we stop. And that's true in life in lots of different ways, right? We burn out, we go too quick, we get overwhelmed. And so that was those two things, go slow to go fast, and every step has purpose, became kind of like how I got to the top of the mountain.
Okay. Excuse me. When you started coaching empty nesters and entrepreneurs, what was the most common belief or mindset you saw holding them back?
Yeah, I think the most common belief or mindset holding them back was they were unsure of who they were now that the kids left home. Identity, we get wrapped up in being a parent. Lots of parents get wrapped up in being a parent instead of themselves. So their identity gets wrapped up in the belief that they can't be anything else, or they can't do anything else, or they only have to wait around for the kids to want them or need them once they're off on their own adventure. And so I was like, well, let's change that narrative. Let's say, you know what, we can have our own adventures. We can like look at ourselves and say, hey, what do I want to be now in life? Our kids are doing the same things when they go off to college. And so for me, that was the kind of the spot was like, hey, well, here's the sweet spot, right? Let's open the door. Let's shine the light on this, because nobody wants to talk about what happens between when the kids leave home and retirement. People just keep doing the same old things rather than saying, hey, this is our time to shine too.
Absolutely, yeah. as the nest coach, you help people redefine the identity after major life shifts, like the children leaving and everything. What's the foundational mindset you teach first?
Yeah. So the very first foundational mindset is really to get a handle on what's going on in your head and your heart, right? Whenever we have a life change, yes, empty nesting is one, but let's say you get fired or you're having divorce or you need to move for some reason or your finances, are bad and you need to figure out how to get out of a hole of debt. All of that has an effect on what's going on in our head and our heart. Like we have thoughts and feelings about all of those different things. Empty nesting just happens to be the one that I focus on, right? It's a life transition that raises lots of questions, and all life transitions raise lots of questions. So, getting a handle on what's going on in your head and heart is like, how do I feel about it? What am I doing about it? Right? Because every time something happens in our lives, well, the greatest example of this is like if somebody cuts you off in traffic,
Hmm.
right, you're going to have a thought and a feeling about that, right?
Yeah.
What's the first thought you're going to have if somebody cut you off in traffic?
Not very nice.
Not nice stuff, right?
Oh,
And then you're going to have some feelings about it. Probably you're going to be angry or pissed or frustrated or whatever.
it depends. Yeah, depending how bad it was. If they really went and cut me off, I might swear a little.
Might swear a little, maybe give them the finger, right? Like it
Yeah,
could happen. It could happen, right?
yeah,
So those are things that take place, and that's the actions that you take, and then the results happen from that. Is maybe you're going to be pissed off the rest of the day yourself, right? You're going to be angry. It's going to flow into the rest of your day.
yeah.
This happens with everything, right? Everything in life, we have a thought and a feeling about it. So that's the first thing. Like when the kids leave home, when you get um, fired, when you maybe have a life transition, or you're looking at divorce, whatever it may be, you're gonna have thoughts and feelings about it. And that's the first step is examining what's going on there. Okay, so that's how we actually move through. Like things happen, we have thoughts and feelings about them. That's the first step. And then the second step is trying to figure out who we want to be. Right? Lots of people reinvent themselves all the time
Yeah.
in life. But empty nesting, I think, is a great time to reinvent yourself. Right? When the kids leave home, you don't have the greater responsibility of kind of the day to day shuffling and moving people around from point A to point B and making sure homework's done, making sure there's food on the table, making sure they get home from sports practice, whatever it may be. It's a time to say, okay, what do I want? What do I want my life to look like? And then we set some goals to that, right? We set some plans and goals and actions to get there. That's the three steps that I focus on with folks.
Okay. How does your experience as an educator and leader help you craft strategies for entrepreneurs and empty nesters alike?
Strategies for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Yeah. So for entrepreneurs who are trying to figure out like what that next step is, right? So often we want to say, oh, what's the very next step? But in education, one of the things that we always focused on was what something's called backwards design. So
Okay.
backwards design means like, where do we want to be? Like, what's the end game? And then we work backwards from there. So then we create our timeline backwards instead of forwards. So that's how I like to help entrepreneurs is saying, okay, if you are where you are right now, you're just trying to figure out like what's the next step tomorrow, the next day, the next day. It's like, no, let's figure out what's the end game here. Are you looking to sell? Are you looking to be in it for a while? What do you want this product to look like? What do you want your business to look like? What's the end result? And then we back the steps all the way back to today to get you there. Because when we look just the mini step here, the today, tomorrow, the next day, sometimes we lose the focus of where we need to go, and that gets us lost. So that's kind of how I help people there in regard to that as well.
In entrepreneurship, many chase more instead of next. How do you help clients choose meaningful direction over simply more activity?
More activity. Yeah, it's the focus piece, right? Is that's where the backwards design comes from. Like instead of chasing more and more and more, it's like, okay, we do talk about what the next right step is, but if you don't have the end game in mind, it makes it a little bit harder to be like, oh, let me add this, let me add this, let me add this, let me add this, instead of saying, well, what's the core that's working? Right? What's the core of my business that works instead of, if I think about software development, right? There's a thing called minimum viable build, right? It's like, so we do a minimum product, a minimum viable product, in software development, like an app, for instance, what's the minimum that we need to get out the door? Some people are like, oh, but we should do this and this and this and add this on top of that and add this on top of that, as opposed to saying, okay, let's just get something out the door, figure out what works, and then add the next thing. Figure out what works and add the next thing. And sometimes we realize, ooh, that next thing we wanted to add isn't going to work in this scenario because we're getting feedback along the way. And that's true of life too, right? It's like do something small, add to it, right? Add something instead of being like, oh, I've got to run a marathon today. No, we're going to take it one step at a time. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes plenty of sense. Yeah. Yeah, your podcast, This Empty Nest Life, and your coaching practice emphasize intentional living. What are the signs that someone is living unconsciously versus intentionally?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I like that. The idea of somebody living unconsciously, I think, is the repeat, rinse, wash kind of like they just get up and go through the motions. I think that's kind of like the unconscious living, but being intentionally curious or intentional about how you want to live your life is like, okay, in the morning, what's my intentionality? And I like to think of like the morning and the night as bookends to your day. And so in the morning, what's your bookend? Like before your day begins in earnest, before you start working, whatever that looks like for you in your life, what do you do in the morning? And what are you intentional about? Not just get up, shower, change, go to work, right? It's like get up, maybe you do gratitude practice, maybe you meditate, maybe you read, maybe that's when you do your best thinking time. Maybe that's when you exercise, whatever that looks like for you. That's your bookend to the morning. Then you start your day, right? You tackle your day like you normally would, or whatever it may look like for you as an individual. And then at night, same thing. You bookend it in a way. It's like, how do I shut my day down? To me, that's intentional, as opposed to just getting up, rush, 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 point A, point B, move, 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 check things off the list, repeat the next day.
Yeah. You talk about balancing ambition with well being. What does a sustainable next act look like in your view?
Yeah, I think a sustainable next act is kind of goes back to that every step has purpose, right? So it's like, for instance, for me, I've been kind of on this health journey for a couple of years now. You talked about battling addiction. So that for me, that during that was the pandemic, and I call it being a pandemicaholic. So I got into drinking pretty heavy during the pandemic as just a way to cope with what was going on and the stress of work. And then I was like, I need to do something about this. So I was pushing probably about 250 pounds at that point. And I was like, I can't keep going like this. Life has to feel different. So it was slow and measured. So first I tackled like the alcohol addiction. Do I still drink alcohol? Yes. Do I drink it every single day like I was? No. Might be a glass here and there with friends, out to dinner, that kind of thing. But it's not a major part of my life. It's not how I cope with life. Okay. So I tackled that first. And then from there, after that, I was like, okay, I need to start building my body strength. I wasn't worried about, some people like want to go all in. And I was like, I got to do something small. So I started lifting twice a week. I started walking 3 times a week. I started doing yoga once a week. All those pieces kind of started adding in. So you see how we're adding things slowly at a time, right? Part of the puzzle. And then I started hiking once a week after I did the Kilimanjaro. And I was like, oh, I like this. I actually like this, right? So let me see how I could do this more. I found a group of people. So that is like my whole week is very intentional about what I do when. And then 2 years later, I started intermittent fasting to kind of accompany and help the rest of the piece. So it's taken me almost, I don't know, 4 years to lose like whatever it is, 25, 30 pounds of instead of trying to do it quick and fast and easy, it was building blocks along the way. That intentionality keeps it to be part of who I am now instead of doing something quick and then having it fall off and fall back.
Yeah. What's next for you, Jay? New mountains to climb, new programs for empty nesters and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so I have been climbing mountains. So since Kilimanjaro, I think I've done another, I don't know, 10 or 12 smaller mountains. So I did one in California. I've done a bunch in New Hampshire and Massachusetts where I'm at. And that for me becomes like, I want to try and do one a month if I can. So that's it. And then adventures, anything that I can look at as something that enhances my life and I can use it as an example of what's possible for others. As far as kind of what comes next in entrepreneurship, I've got the coaching, meet with people, I have one-on-one clients, I have a group program. I also just started a business, a clothing business based upon my life motto called Every Step Has Purpose. So it's got some branding to it there. So that's like another side hustle that I've got going on. I really enjoy kind of my ADD allows me to kind of be like, oh, I got to be in lots of different places. And so it breaks things up. But talking about this emptiness life, trying to be an inspiration for folks, looking at lots of different things to do. Like for me, that's adventure in and of itself.
And I kind of relate with you with wanting to be because when I launched the podcast, it was part therapeutic for me, and because I launched during the pandemic, and and so it was something that it gave me something to talk about. It gave me just gave me something to do. Like I was furloughed from work. I was home, uh, and I didn't want to start drinking that because there was something from years in the past. Something like I'm something similar story to you where I didn't stop. I haven't stopped drinking. I only drink socially whenever I go to dinner or wine or but when I launched the podcast, it just opened up this creative side of me now where I'm I'm helping other people launch their podcasts. I'm also helping people self learn how to self-publish their books and then I launched the internet radio station. And I started just doing and I'm still doing so many different I'm getting into coaching. It it opened up so many lanes and so many different opportunities and just the connections I've been able to make through podcasting has just also been very it's just been amazing to be able to
Yeah.
build relationships that I've been able to build through the podcast.
Yeah. It's so good. I saw, you did an interview with Nina Perez and I interviewed
Yes.
Nina Israel and
I love Nina.
I can talk to her all day, every day.
I love Nina. I love Nina. I had a great time with Nina. We've actually become pretty good friends. We send messages to each other. So it's those kind of relationships that I enjoy because she after I interviewed her, I signed up for just signed up. She gave a free course and I signed up for it and went and it was at the beginning of the year and the first day I started I did everything she was telling me. I wrote this my it was the beginning of the year, so I wrote my letter to myself and I started working on my affirmations and just started building my morning routine.
I love it.
And so it was a great experience, and it's been an amazing year as far as so many different life changes I've done just in the past 10 months. So it's just been a great shift, and it's just been and it's like when with that shift, I'm now seeing some great results, like some of the latest connections that I've made with people have opened up other lanes for me now where, I'm coming soon I'm gonna be doing a live podcasting event from an event that someone is hosting, and Imma interview them after it, and so I'm actually now going remotely, and I'm taking this show on the road for the first time ever, and I'm excited.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that you started your podcast in the pandemic. I did too. Like that's where I started. I launched it on New Year's Eve of 2020 because again, what else do you do but in a pandemic, looking for some activity or trying to connect with people and share a positive message?
Yeah.
My podcast went through, I don't know if yours has always been the same, but mine went through 3 iterations, basically my journey of, first it was Positivity on Fire is what it was called. And then when we got through the pandemic, we came out, I changed it to Intentionally Curious because that's where I was in my life. And then now it's This Empty Nest Life. So it's my full journey. And I imagine your podcast is kind of the same. Like you can see where you started in the beginning and
Oh,
200
yeah.
some episodes later, kind of your growth. And I saw
Mhm.
that you were watching Pod Matches podcasting
Yeah.
event, Pat Flynn and
Yeah.
Alex. And Pat Flynn, I've listened to Pat Flynn for,
Oh, I love Platform.
I've
Like, so
ever.
I'm excited, right? Because I'm gonna be because he's gonna be one of the keynote speakers at Podfest, and I'm hoping to meet him because one of my I have it's right in front of me. I have this board in front of me, um, and on the board it says interview Pat Flynn, and
It's gonna
it's
happen for you. I know it. I know it.
so my goal is to be able to, even if it's for 5-10 minutes, I don't care. I just want to be able to sit down and speak to Pat and erase that from my board.
Get it off the list. I love that so much. Yeah,
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 but it's been so like you were saying the transformation from my podcast. Yeah, when I first started, it was just me talking about whatever was keeping me stuck in my head, and talking about being furloughed from work and talking about everything that was going on, the election, the pandemic, George Floyd situation, just everything that was going on. So then eventually I was like, all right, I know I'm enjoying doing the podcast. I just wasn't enjoying the content.
yeah. Talking into the void, if you
Yeah.
will. Yeah,
So I was like, maybe I should start interviewing people. And so yeah, I started going around. I connected with someone, and he was a publicist, and he got me a couple of s- they're celebrities. They're like a lower tier celebrity, and it was great. It was just the beginning for me, and it was and I appreciate the beginning. That's just the beginning. That was just the beginning, and then when I started focusing on where I wanted to go with the podcast, I was like, I want to start talking to coaches and entrepreneurs because that's the space that I was finding myself in, and so I started shifting to that aspect where now I'm talking to coaches and all these other people and focusing on that because there are people out there that need to hear these messages and people like yourself need to be able to share your story and platform and that's all I really want is to be able to help people in any way I can.
yeah, yeah. I'm a big believer in like Impact One or Impact 1 million. There's no difference, right?
Yeah.
Impact is impact. So if even just one person listens to one of your episodes and takes something away with it, that they're like, "Oh, I could do something with that, or I could think more about that," then to me, that's impact. Like that's the name of my company, Impact One Media. So it's like that's my whole philosophy is like one person. That's it.
And it just with some of the episodes, like one of my favorite stories to talk about is a guest of mine. I interviewed her. We had a great conversation. We became friends, and then I interviewed her a couple of years after, and because she was one of my first interviews, and then I interviewed her again, but for some reason her interview got lost in the shuffle. This is before I was going live and everything, and I found the episode, and I was like, "Oh man, I haven't released this episode," and I released it, and I tagged her in it, and she messaged me. She's like, "Was this the episode we did last year?" Like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry for the delay. I just got caught up with so many other different things." And she goes, "No, no, thank you." I was like, "Thank you." She's like, "I read your description. You used one of my favorite pictures the in the thumbnail, and I read what you said in the description about our conversation and whatever it was." She's like, "Thank you." She says, I kind of lost who that person was. I kind of
Ooh, yeah.
lost who that was, and by you releasing this episode now, it kind of reminded me who I was, and I was like, "Wow, the way things happen." Like, if I would have released this episode when I was supposed to, she wouldn't have gotten this message.
Right. Yeah. It was a right time, right
Yeah,
moment for her to rehear what she needed to hear in
yeah,
order to maybe get unstuck from where she was in her life at that moment in
yeah.
time.
So it's those messages when I get to receive those messages from people. It's like, okay, I got to keep doing what I'm doing.
Gotta
This
keep
is
going.
just, yeah.
Yeah. Got to keep at it. 100%.
There's no stopping. Yeah.
I love that.
So, how do you maintain your own momentum and alignment after multiple big transitions and adventures?
I like to look at it kind of like, you watch football,
Of
right?
course.
Of course. Okay. I like to look at it like a running game.
Okay.
So every once in a while, you're going to have a big gain, right? You're going to have a nice run, 5, 10, 15 yards. But most of the time, it's like 2 yards forward, a yard back, 3 yards forward, 2 yards back. That's kind of how I look at life. And so the momentum isn't about big game being big game, big game, big gain. It's like, what do you do when you get hit and you go backwards, right? Do you try
Mhm.
and do something big, or you try just to do like the next little thing? And that's the beauty of it. Sometimes we do want to do the next big thing. Like we want to throw the ball downfield, right? To have a big gain. But sometimes we just need to have like a little end run, right? To get around the line, end of the line and try and make a little bit of momentum. And so that's how I do it. It's like it's not all perfection all the time. It's not all these big moves and these big gains. It's little steps, big steps, little step. Like that's how I look at life. And that's how I try to treat what I do for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, even with what everything I've been doing with the the past 5 years, right? And me and my nephew, we've worked hard to build what we have, like launching a publishing company, launching multiple shows, and him really getting into fashion and designing. Like, this is one of his hats and this is one of his logos. So us just collaborating and building and working together and seeing now some like, when you're like, you just feel like that you're at that, you're just bubbling and you're just at that point where you're just like ready to just explode through. It's like we've been grinding for these past 5 years, and it's like right now it's getting to that point where you just feel the bubbles just rising and rising. And so we're so excited because we're like that. We've always had faith in ourselves. We've always believed that what's going to happen, it's going to happen because we've worked hard for it. But to really start seeing it happen, and with just some of the conversations that I've been having with people, it's just been amazing. It's just been like to see things just okay. Like I said, and it started again with Nina. It started with Nina. I have to give her credit because it wasn't me for me taking that free course that she offered and and implementing some of the stuff we were talking about. I don't know if the transformation would have started, like, and everything would have been falling into place now.
Yeah. Think about all the connections, right? Like
Yeah,
you met her, you interviewed her, then you took a class, like, and then you talk about the woman whose uh, episode you lost and then put back. That was perfect timing for her. Like the timing of everything just all comes together, and people say, "Oh, I don't believe inside of like karma or the universe, whatever." Kind of sounds like there's something at foot there for you, right? In
yeah,
terms of like all the pieces of the puzzle coming together. So sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But unless you keep, I don't like the word grinding because it sounds like it's, like, you know what I mean? Like, but if you keep running the ball, sooner or later you're going to break through.
yeah. Being consistent, and that's, something that's been key is me being consistent, and And it's the podcast is prime example. Like you said, if you go listen to the first episode and you listen to where I'm at now, it's night and day.
Oh,
It's completely. And even if you listen to the first time I interviewed somebody to now, my confidence level is different. Everything is different. Everything about it is different because I've grown and developed. And because when I did those first few episodes, this wasn't my lane. This wasn't what I did. I didn't do podcasting. I didn't interview people. I wasn't in media. And now I'm doing this 5 years. And again, night and day.
night and
It's
day.
just a
Yeah.
big difference.
I would imagine you're like me. If somebody said to you, "Hey, Will, we want to pay you X to host a podcast," you'd be like, all in. And I'm the same way. If somebody came to me and said, "Hey, Jay, we want you to host blah 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 podcast for whomever," I'd be like, "Let's go."
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's something. And it's funny because it was like I had to make myself uncomfortable. I had to really, because what I had purchased the podcasting equipment at $160, a Behringer studio. I remember it, a Behringer studio from Amazon. It came with a mic, a mixer, headsets, and an adapter that went into my laptop. Right, so the mixer went into it went into the laptop. I didn't have a clue or anything about mics, any of that. Didn't know the difference between a dynamic mic and a condenser mic. I just went with what they offered, and and I was for a year messing with it, just recording, delete, just not having confidence in myself, doubting myself, just questioning myself. Until that one day I finally just pressed record and that was like, all right, this is it. I'm
That's
gonna
it.
release it. Yeah.
Felt like magic, right? It's like,
It was like this big weight was just lifted off of me. Like, okay, I can do this. And it went from 5 minutes, like the first episode was like 5, 7 minutes. Then the next one went to the 10 minutes and then 12 minutes. And which more and more times just each episode just got a little bit longer, a little bit longer. To
yeah,
now where if I have an hour conversation, it's like, okay, like nothing.
like nothing. Yeah, it just is like, wow. There's nothing like it. There really isn't. There's nothing like podcasting and interviewing people and putting kind of your message out there into the world for people to listen to it. And that doesn't matter. Like I said, one person or 100 people, 1,000 people or a million. It doesn't really matter
Yeah,
as long as somebody gets something out of it.
absolutely. So life after parenting, career, identity shifts. What message do you want to leave for listeners about embracing the second act? Because I know I'm embracing my second act right now.
Yeah, you already hit on it. Will, you said it. He was like, you got comfortable with uncomfortable things. That's the key. That's the key, is to get comfortable with doing uncomfortable things. That kind of unleashes what comes next for you. But if we stay stuck because we're afraid of what might come or what might happen, or we might get rejected or might not be good at it, whatever it may be, that's how we stay stagnant. But once you get comfortable with being like, oh, I can do that, even if it's going to be uncomfortable for a hot second or a minute or a month, if I can get through it, and I can do anything, and then I know how to do that the next time and the next time. It's funny. One of the things I was talking with Nina about was like, people say, "Oh, I've got to have the courage to do something," and it's like, no, you have to do the something to build the courage,
Yeah, absolutely.
and that's
Yeah,
how it works. And that's what I would leave with your listeners, is that you got to get comfortable with uncomfortable things. You said it best already, but that's the key.
yeah, yeah. And that's what it was for me, was until I was like, you know what? Uh, How do I'm failing myself by just not even attempting it.
Yes,
So it was like, okay, what else do I have to lose? So someone doesn't listen to me. Oh well, okay. You know what? Here goes. And that's it. And that was it. And that started, and that was the beginning for it. it was just like, okay, I got this. And then once I started doing it, and I found my voice and
Yeah.
I
Just that,
found my space,
yeah, the voice. Yeah.
and I was like, I got this. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it's just like I said, for me, it just opened up so many different creative avenues and lanes for me. I could be creative in doing so many different other things like that. I didn't know that at my age that I could be able to learn some of these things. Like, okay, I'm 40 something years old. I was 44 when I started the podcast, and I didn't really have my purpose in life. I didn't know what I wanted to do with life. And then pandemic hits. I started podcasting. I started discovering that I do have a voice. I I, I realized that I'm here. I want to help serve others and guide others through this journey. And now I'm getting to do that. I found my purpose. I found what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And to be able to have that feel, and I tell people like that's like the greatest feeling in the world to me is to be able to say that I'm doing what I want to do.
It's empowering, right? To be like, hey, this is what I want to do. And it's not, I mean, you said you've been doing it for 5 years, right? It's like, it wasn't overnight.
Oh no.
You keep working at it. You got 200 and some episodes, 5-star podcasts, like that takes work, right? It takes getting out of your comfort zone to be like, oh, what's the next thing I have to do? Well, I got to find guests. I got
Mhm.
to figure out how to interview people. I have to get better at interviewing people. I have to make it compelling for people. And that
Yeah,
all takes just, again, every single step you took had a purpose to it.
yeah, absolutely. But oh man, I could do this all day with you. but but we've come to the show, part of the show where you get this the spotlight and you get to plug away and let everybody know where they can find your podcast, everything.
Yeah. So in order to find me online, it's thisemptynestlife.com. I'm on TikTok and Instagram as the.emptynest.coach. You can find me there. And if you just Google Jay Ramsden, I'll come up all over the page. That's probably the easiest way to find me.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Jay, for being a guest. I appreciate your time. But don't leave yet. Let me close out the show and we'll chat a little bit off the air. But I appreciate you stopping by, brother, and thank you for for a great conversation. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on, Will.
Thank you. I'm gonna let Nina know that I interviewed you and see. But thank you, man. I appreciate the time, man. All right, everybody. Another great episode is in the books. I do truly appreciate this was a great conversation. Thank you, Jay, for being such a great guest. If Jay's story hit you, head over to his emptynestlife.com and his social and check out all his social networks and check out how his coaching, podcasting community can help you climb your own mountain. And if you know someone who's transitioning, whether it's kids leaving home or a career shift, share this episode with them because life's next act isn't a waiting room. It's an invitation. Stay intentional, stay adventurous, stay wise. You know your boy Wise does it. Peace out.